Hi, this is Sara Levin, the Artful Inker. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in the United States. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm participating in the Stampin' Global video hop where our theme is spring flowers, and I've chosen a shaker card using dandelions. Let's set this aside and get started. For this card, we're going to be using the Garden Wishes bundle, and that can be found in the January to June Stampin' Up! Mini catalog or in my Stampin' Up! Store. There's a link for that in the description below. And the bundle is the Garden Wishes stamp set and the Dandy Wishes dies. And when you do purchase a bundle, you receive a 10% discount on buying those items separately. There's a piece of basic white, and I'm going to ink up the dandelion in Memento. Just checking to make sure that all the little bits have been inked. One of the advantages to inking a stamp upside down. And then let's press, make sure we rub all the way around, and give everything time to transfer the ink to the paper. Okay, set our stamp aside, and now we're going to do some coloring with our Stampin' Blends. So I've got light shaded spruce, I've got dark and light granny apple green. I've even got my dark shaded spruce, and then I've got light old olive. We're going to start with those for our leaves and stems. And let me just zoom in here so that you can see more closely, and then hopefully won't see my head in the frame. Okay, so I'm going to start with some of the dark shaded spruce, and some of our spaces to color in are very light. So I'm using bullet tips to start with, and we're going to work the stems here. So this is the dark shaded spruce, and then I'm going, that's not a bullet tip. I need just a little more control in these smaller spaces, so I want to use the bullet tips. I don't often color with them. And then I'm going to go over this and add some of the light old olive to it. I'm looking for a shade that's a little closer to garden green, and that's pretty good. Okay, so let's do the same thing up here with the dark shaded spruce, and then we're going to come over that with the light shaded spruce, and just following this stem all the way down in. Sometimes I find when I color something like this that's layered, like this with leaves and stems kind of intertwining, I may have missed a few things, and so in the end I end up coming back and coloring in pieces that I thought I've already finished all of. So if you do that in your coloring, don't worry about it. Sometimes we don't see where those stems or leaves are going until other pieces have been colored in. Okay, so I think I've gotten all of the stems up to the flowers, and now we're going to start with our leaves. And I'm going to come in here with a little bit of the dark and then the light in the shaded spruce. And then I want to come over this with that old olive in the light. And as you can see, the old olive is just too light for what dandelions look like. So we're going to blend some of that. And then I'm just going to stroke in a little bit of that dark shaded spruce right on top of it all. So putting in my light old olive first, and then coming back with the light shaded spruce. And then I'm going to come in for just a little bit of detail then with that dark shaded spruce. And then let's start again down here at the bottom. And I'm going to do more of a full leaf down at the very bottom where it's going to be most shaded with the dark shaded spruce and then the light. And then let's give just a little bit of transitional color by using that old olive in here. And then this is where, as we get closer to where the light will be on everything, this is where I'm going in with my old olive first, and then coming over that with the light shaded spruce. Okay, and then let's come on up here with this little bit of dark shaded spruce for some accent on that. And then we've got one more dandelion leaf down here. So again, starting with the dark shaded spruce and adding in some light. Okay, and then I want to go over that with my light old olive. And now I'm up here to a lighter portion of the leaf and putting in my light old olive and then the light shaded spruce blended in with it. And the reason I don't color the whole leaf all the way up once I transition to that old olive is alcohol inks do dry, and we want them wet so that they'll still blend as we add those layers of color. Okay, and just stroking in a little bit of the dark shaded spruce for accent. And then we've got these little grass lines. And I'm going to alternate colors here so that we get a little more texture. Of course, grass isn't all one color. And let's come up here. Okay, and let's see what we've got. Let's go with, this is the light shaded spruce, and then we'll come in with a little bit of the dark here. And let's go to the dark here at the bottom. And there's no real rhyme or reason for what I'm choosing for which one gets which color. I just want there to be some color variation and texture there. So let me cap these up. And then bring in some other colors for our dandelion. And I've got my light and dark daffodil delight, and then my light mango melody. And again, I'm going to use bullet tips for these. And I'm not going to hold the mango melody in my hand. The cap colors are very similar. And so I need to leave it over there so I know when I'm using that shade. Okay, and I'm just sort of alternating rows as I go around here with my light and dark Daffodil Delight in order to get some kind of textural variation. You know how fluffy those dandelion flowers are. Okay, and out here on the edge with the dark. And then I want to kind of dot in some of this Mango Melody around here to give this even more. And then I'm going to give it a quick brush with the light daffodil all over to kind of make sure that everything's colored, but not really worry about blending it. Okay, so same thing here. I'm going to start with the dark right here in the middle, and then come in with the light out here along the edge of this one. And then let's dot in a little bit of this Mango Melody. It's hard to see, but it really does make a difference in the texture, that additional color there. And then come down here on the outside of this one. Okay. And then I've got a little bit of green that needs to be colored now at the base of a couple of those flowers. And I'm going to use my light old olive and light granny apple green. So let me get the bullet tips for both of those. And want to color in, and then that was the light old olive first, and then that granny apple green, and then we're going to do the same thing along all of this and give it just a touch of highlight with that granny apple green. Okay, so we're done coloring those, and I've got just another couple bits of stamping. So we want the bee that is going to be inked in Memento. Just making sure I've got all the little details there. And again, press and hold. And then I'm going to use the bullet tip of my dark Daffodil Delight to color him in. He's just a little bumblebee. Okay, and that's all the color that we're going to give him. So let me take these to die cut, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I've used the Dandy Wishes die to cut my dandelion and my bumblebee. But I'd like to add some shading now so that we don't have the bright white spots on here. And we're going to use the Soften Blends technique that I've shared with you previously for adding shading. So this is light balmy blue, and I'm going to color some dark balmy blue right here beside it on this piece of vellum. And I'm going to add some light smoky slate over here. And then I'm going to use my color lifter to pick up some of that color, and I'm just going to add it down in some of this white space here. And it's just a light bit of color in here. We're just sort of taking some of that bright white off, and by using this softened blends technique, then we don't end up with so much ink that we're having to use the color lifter to kind of bleed it away, and that keeps then our other colors from bleeding. So we're just going to go in all of these little areas. And some of this we're going to just shade with the smoky slate and not pick up any of the blue when we get really shadowed in here. And it helps to make these other pieces kind of pop around here when we have the shadows down in here. Okay, let me brush that out, and then I want to add a little more green along the bottom, so I'm going to use some dark granny apple green, some of the light old olive, and then some of the light shaded spruce. And then I always like to put down some of the smoky slate. Okay, so we're going to mix these around with the color lifter and pick up a little bit of that smoky slate in there as well. We don't want this to be the same green that our leaves are. Okay, so that keeps everything from being bright white down there. I may go back in one more time and add a little bit more of that balmy blue. So let me just freshen that here on my piece of vellum and pick a little bit more of that up. Put down a little bit more. Of course, it would help if I'm using the bullet tip, the brush tip rather, that picks up, lays down more ink than the bullet does. And as you add your shading, it's good to move around and not just work one place, because you want your ink to dry and not be causing these other inks to bleed around. Okay, I think that's good now. Enough shading. So let me cap all of this up and move it out of the way. We've got one last bit of stamping to do. I need a sentiment. So I've got a 1/2 inch wide strip of basic white. And my sentiment is from the Springtime Joy stamp set. That's also in that January to June Stampin' Up! Mini catalog. Let's take my sentiment, and I'm going to ink it in Memento. And I've got a longer strip than I need because we're doing this on camera. And in case I don't get it stamped straight enough, the first time, I've got more cardstock to work with. Okay, that's perfect. And then I've got my banners pick-a-punch here, but first I want to use my paper snips and cut off my end, and we're going to hope that I'm straight-ish. And let's turn this over and place it right up in our punch. Now this Banners Pick-a-Punch is a carryover from the mini catalog, the August through December in 2020, and it's one of my favorites because you can punch several different widths of cardstock and have two different banner ends. I choose to have the same banner end on both ends of my stamped piece. So now we're ready to assemble our card, and I've got a balmy blue card base and a piece of basic white for the inside. Let's add some adhesive here. My favorite, the multi-purpose liquid glue. And we're going to straighten up the base on the grid paper. And if you look at the top and two sides, then your bottom will be evenly spaced as well. Okay, and next I have a piece of the Dandy Wishes designer paper, and I've cut a balmy blue frame using the stitched rectangles. These two pieces of garden green were cut with the Dandy Wishes dies, and then I have a piece of acetate window sheet that I have cut. Now let's do dimensions here. This is a standard 4 by 5 1/4 inch piece of cardstock, and then I've used the stitched rectangle to cut it out. This is piece of window sheet is 3 7/8 by 5 1/8, and the Dandy Wishes designer paper is also 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. So let's turn this over, and I'm going to run a bead of this multi-purpose glue around the edge here. Let's make sure okay. And then I'm going to put my window sheet down. Now the reason for cutting it just a little bit smaller is so that I don't have to worry about matching the layers up perfectly as I layer these. I know they'll fit. Okay, and I'm just pressing so that that multi-purpose glue spreads out a little bit. And then next, we're going to add some of the adhesive foam strips, and I'm just going to pull this one off and start and put it around. Now I am going close to the edge here, and the reason for doing that is since we're making a shaker card, we don't want our shaker bits to end up too far down in the card. And I've just nipped the corner there so that this bends more easily. Okay, and then we're going to take another strip off, and I'm going to butt this one right up against this corner. And again, you want these to be tight to each other so that you're not giving any room for them to escape. And let's just nip this corner, not all the way through, just enough, I'm going to say half or less, so that it bends easily. And let me make sure I've got this straight-ish on here. Don't want to be overhanging our hole here in the center. And then again, nip this corner. And I may be just a smidge too long, and that's okay. Better to come in here with just a little extra, because we can always cut that down, than trying to fit a small piece in here. Okay, so put those right up against each other. And then I'm just going to cut some pieces to go around this outside edge so that it is supported on our card. And this is more like using regular dimensionals for this second row. Oops. I'm not putting it down on the sticky side, and of course it won't stick if I don't put it down on the sticky side. Let's push this back up and go out along here. And again, this is just for support of that outside edge of the frame, so that it doesn't bend or sag. And one more little bit here. Okay, let's take these out of the way. And I'm going to pull my backing pieces off. Two more little pieces here on the sides. Let's go ahead and get that. And here we go. Okay, now let's adhere this piece. I'm going to use the multi-purpose glue. And as I mentioned, this piece is also cut a little smaller than a full-size layer, and that's so that when we put our shaker topper on, we don't have to be quite so careful in placing it so that things don't stick out. So then I've got these sequins for everything. These are also a carryover from the August to December mini catalog, and we're going to put in some of the greens and some of these kind of mango melody-ish, goldish ones, and then some of the straight up gold, and then how about some more of the green in here. Want to make sure you've got enough shaker bits in your shaker card, so don't put them too high. And then let's center this. Oops, that one didn't go in. That's quite all right. Okay, so now let's finish putting our other pieces on. We're going to start with our dandelions here. And I am going to add dimensionals to our dandelions. And I've got one more here. Okay, put that out of the way. Okay, and then these guys we're going to adhere right to our cardstock with multi-purpose glue. So let's put a little on each of them, and then we're going to kind of layer them over here in this corner. And I do like to leave my ends kind of free. And then I've got my bumblebee here. And it's going to get a couple of the mini dimensionals. And it's going to be coming in here. And then we need to do our sentiment. And that's going to get dimensionals as well. Let's grab a couple of those. Okay. And there we are with my dandelions for welcome spring. Thank you for stopping in today. This was Sara Levin, the Artful Inker. Please give this video a thumbs up and share it with your card making friends. If you're in the US, you can purchase some of your Stampin' Up! Products in my store. You'll find a link below. Subscribe to my YouTube channel and click the bell if you'd like to be notified the next time I upload a video. And of course, be sure to use the link below to move on to the next in today's Stampin' Global video hop. Bye. Have a great day.